Speaking out against Oprah, Ice Cube is collaborating with Tucker Carlson to reveal Diddy's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Oprah is at the center of everything, orchestrating everything from behind the scenes as the sinister secrets of Hollywood are finally revealed. Ice Cube isn't merely making charges. He has evidence to support all of his claims. And as a result, Oprah is pursuing his career.
Once again, they had the whole cast on, but I wasn't invited. And so I don't know.
On Oprah's show.
Yeah, so I don't know what that's really.
But Oprah's obviously a saintly, godlike figure who's revered by all decent people. Why would she exclude you?
I really don't know. You know, that's something that I would love to find out. But I can't tell you, you know, if there's a single thing that I've done or said to her.
Have you noticed that it is more controversial to criticize Oprah than to burn the American flag?
Really?
Seems that way. I've never heard anybody criticize Oprah.
Jeffrey Epstein, P. Diddy, what do you think is going to happen with all that now?
I knew a lot of people who knew Jeffrey Epstein, like a lot. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, thank God. I certainly knew a lot of people who knew him, and like a lot, like more than 10. Jeffrey Epstein was not considered like some far out sinister figure in the world that I lived in. I mean, I'm just being totally honest about this. He was like this kind of interesting guy who had this kind of rotating salon at his house off Fifth Avenue in New York, and there was always the Israeli prime minister and former presidents and like just interesting people, you know? I did not understand what that was about at all. And so when he died, I was like, oh, poor guy killed himself in prison. And then I got a call from his brother, just randomly. And his brother said, you know, he did not commit suicide. I was really shocked by that. And I thought, well, maybe his brother's crazy. So this set off a multi-year journey for me that really changed my views about a lot of different things. And the bottom line is Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, and not only murdered, but he was murdered in the most secure federal lockup in Midtown Manhattan in the country. And so what is that? What is that? Think about that for a minute.
According to Ice Cube, the mainstream media has used him as a weapon to silence him by calling him dangerous and insane for merely voicing his opinions. He claims that because of their close relationships with powerful media companies, Oprah and her inner circle are able to suppress tales, shield predators, and put anyone who dared to speak out on a blacklist. These gatekeepers have a strong hold on Hollywood's elite circles. Ice Cube claims that they function similarly to a secret society, rewarding silence and penalizing truth. By speaking up, you run the chance of losing your life in addition to facing criticism.
Well, but I've been shut out. You know, some platforms will not have me on.
Why?
They don't like that I'm, you know, an independent thinker. I'm not part of the herd. I'm not part of the go along to get along gang, so to speak. So, you know, I'm an outsider. And so, you know, I'm not part of the club. So I have to go places for one that I'm welcome, and where I can voice my opinion without somebody, you know, saying I'm a bad person and that they never want to have me on their platform again.
What platforms have banned you?
I've been, you know, I tried to go on The View. They didn't have me on The View.
Why?
Well, a few of the guests just really didn't like where I was coming from. So, or a few of the hosts, I mean. So that's what I was told by the producers. You know, I don't know if the producers was just copping out and using some of the hosts to not have me come on and explain myself, but...
You'd be a good booking for them.
I've been on there before.
Yeah.
You know, it's just when I've became an independent thinker, when I've, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't follow their brand of politics, I guess.
But if you can't think for yourself, then you're not really free, are you?
No, you're not. You're not. But I've been excluded. I've been excluded on Oprah, you know.
On Oprah?
On Oprah, yeah, I've been excluded. Yeah, man.
I would think you'd be the person Oprah would want to promote. I mean, you grew up in South Central, you were successful at a young age, you have dignity, you say what you think. Like, I thought that was the goal.
Anyone who has attempted to reveal what's truly happening behind the scenes, whether they be journalists, actors, musicians, or whistleblowers, has been hushed, slandered, or inexplicably blacklisted. According to Ice Cube, he never belonged to the secret society. He has never relied on them to create his legacy. never gone to their parties, and never played by their rules. Ice Cube spoke directly to these gatekeepers in a TikTok video, letting them know who they are and what they have done. Social media was rocked by the video, leaving viewers wondering who he was actually criticizing. A few weeks later, Ice Cube explicitly identified Oprah as the ring boss, but he did not name people at the time.
Yo, what's cracking? You know what it is. It's your homeboy Ice Cube. And some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their club. That pisses them off. What club am I talking about? I'm talking about the club of gatekeepers that we all got to deal with. You know who they are, and they definitely know who they are. A lot of people would be like, what, who? Come on, man, stop playing. So, ever since I put out the contract with Black America, you know they've been with me. Here and there, this and that. But it's cool, you know. I expect that.
Diddy was a pawn in the hands of these elites, and they fired him when he was no longer useful. According to Ice Cube, Epstein and Diddy were both singled out. As long as he followed their guidelines, Diddy had years of protection, status, and untouchability. However, they turned against him the instant he attempted to expand beyond what they permitted. In less than a year, Diddy went from being the most successful black artist to being imprisoned, in order to divert attention from the more profound corruption that hasn't been addressed. Ice Cube maintains that both men were pawns to be used, discarded, and eventually sacrificed.
Diddy, you're hearing Diddy everywhere, okay?
Yeah.
So, did you ever have any kind of run-in with Diddy? Did you ever do anything with Diddy? Any projects you worked on with him?
Yeah, he produced a few records, or had his producers do a few records on my War and Peace album, the Peace Disc. Yeah.
How was he to work with?
It was cool. You know, he, gave us great music. We flew out to New York, and I was mainly in the studio with the producer. You know, he had a stable of producers, so I was in the studio with his stable of producers, and I think we did some great music. And you know, I really kind of, lost contact with him and really stopped, dealing with Puffy around 94.
Yeah. Any specific reason?
Yeah, I mean, they was doing their thing, I was doing mine. And, I'm not the partying type. You know what I mean? I ain't never been to a Diddy party. I ain't never really wanted to go. But I don't go to a lot of people parties. That just ain't what I'm in it for.
Diddy's demise, in Cube's opinion, wasn't a random act of justice. The same people who had previously protected him made a planned move. Q shares Jeffrey Epstein's belief that Diddy was exploited to further the goals of the wealthy and powerful, and they cut him loose to protect themselves when things became too messy or too public. It was Diddy's fault. He made too much noise. Diddy had been mentioning all of the people that attended his parties on television shows. He repeated, "Too many times the silence section allowed."
Are you surprised at what things are coming out with Diddy at all, or you're like, you have no idea? It's none of my business. You'll live longer. Is that kind of like the mindset?
I'm surprised. How could you be surprised with anything that happens in hip hop? It's hip hop is the Wild West. So you're gonna have the good, you're gonna have the bad, you're gonna have the ugly.
You think he's being targeted, or some of the stuff he's got, there's credibility on what they're coming after him with the tapes and the feds and raiding his Miami home, his LA home?
I believe he's being targeted.
You believe he's being targeted?
Yeah. I believe, somebody, has the power to pull the trigger to make you know, this stuff, this domino effect happened.
Okay. All right. So you think he's being targeted. So you don't think, Shook said, you can say what you want about Diddy, but Diddy didn't learn to like young boys. He learned it from a man named Clive Davis. He threw Clive Davis in there. It doesn't sound like you're part of that camp. You're part of the camp that you think he's being targeted.
You know, I don't know enough to even be able to be specific on any of this stuff. It's just all speculation. I just know he was cool up until a point, and then this stuff started happening. So I believe somebody, you know, like I said, yo, he's our new guy. We on this year or whatever.
Epstein and Diddy are a perfect match. Both men were surrounded by wealth, influence, and authority. Both were charged with abusing their authority to take advantage of others in private. Additionally, both were shielded from their misdeeds by a network of elites. Sealed court documents, private planes, private parties, and celebrity guest lists. Every time, it's the same tale.
I mean, everybody hung with Diddy. That's the other tricky thing. Like, Diddy hung out with everybody. And I've spoken to a bunch of people who are like, yo, great dude, like, always there for you, never asked for a single thing.
Till 1 a.m.
And then
freak off. Everybody says, get out of the house.
Yeah.
It's like the gremlins start eating after midnight. Everybody tells the stories like, I saw her go upstairs and these dudes are fucking like right on the couch.
Yeah.
And then I go in this room and these guys are fucking, and it's like,
yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And that's the other thing. Like, I wonder, like, is that just a power thing?
It's a Caligula thing.
What does that mean?
Caligula, like the emperor. Did you ever see that movie, Caligula?
No.
It's about just Roman empires being completely out of control. Caligula is like almost like porn, and it was a movie made, I want to say in the 70s. It's a crazy movie. Wow. But it's just detailing extreme excess where you can never fill the hole.
But what is the hole you need to fill? Like, I'm trying to find, like, what's the
just
catalyst?
Chaos. What year was this? 79. Yeah. That's Malcolm McDowell, right? Yeah. Yeah, the dude from Clockwork Orange.
Oh, yeah.
It's a crazy movie, man. But it's still mild in comparison to what Absolute have. Absolute power corrupts. Caligula.
Okay, so then there's the question. It's like, can you take a completely normal person, give them power, and then they become that? Or does it take a power-hungry person that has this void that needs to be filled, and then when they are given that power, you see the worst version of them?
Ask your CIA boy. I bet he's got the answers. I bet he knows the exact formula.
Diddy and Epstein are identical except for the fact that Diddy was able to escape. Apparently, Diddy had nothing to do with this case. The goal was always to gain access to Diddy's tapes, and it didn't matter to the elites if Diddy escaped. Once they discovered those, according to Ice Cube and others, the government raids, the unexpected media hysteria, and even the meticulously constructed storyline around Diddy's case were all components of a bigger scheme.
Bit of a commotion outside the courthouse. Sean Combs' mother just returned here. She walked in just a second ago, said she is feeling good because her son was acquitted of the most serious charges that he faced, both of which could have sent him to prison for life. He was convicted, though, of transportation to engage in prostitution, and that charge could put him in prison for up to 20 years, although it's not expected he would get that much time. What we're waiting for now is the judge to decide whether Combs can be released on bail while he awaits his sentencing. He offered to put up $1 million. He put up his homes in Miami and Los Angeles. They're certainly opulent. The jury, the judge, everybody saw pictures of them. And the judge said he would convene a hearing later this afternoon to determine if Combs should be released.
But there's a big question as to where he's going to go. Some people think he's going to go to a minimum security facility, and other people say he's not eligible. And I agree, because it's a sex crime.
Prosecutors, they said in their filing yesterday that it's a crime of violence. We'll see how it goes down when it goes to sentencing. But
you know what? Hold on. I know we're out. We don't have a lot of time. Here's something nobody's pointed out. that judge could hit him what's called relevant conduct, where they could actually sentence and enhance him for things that he either was acquitted of, found not guilty of, based on the conduct of what he did. So he may get more time.
Oh, the judge has a lot of discretion here. You know, there's no minimum. Max is 10. There's been talk about would he even go past the guidelines, because you're talking about multiple instances of transportation to engage in prostitution and two victims.
Relevant conduct allows the judge to do that.
Right.
The defense will say he used his discretion, but he really didn't, because the judge has all the discretion he wants.
That's 100%. That's why he's going to need as much information from a pre-investigation report. Let me ask you this. If he goes to prison, if he's sentenced to prison, he was acquitted of racketeering. He was acquitted of trafficking, but he was convicted of transportation to engage in prostitution. Does he walk in a king, or does he walk in a pariah? How do other inmates look at him if he was acquitted?
You know what? He was acquitted on some charges.
Yeah.
People win. I mean, on multiple counts, people sometimes get things dismissed all the time. Fact is, he's no better than anyone else. He's a convicted felon. But what he's going to face is all these people are going to be sucking up to him because of who he is and thinking that he could do something to further their career.
We have a big update right now. Remember how we were just saying this is the best possible outcome for the defense? Combs agrees and the defense agrees. Combs, after being led out by marshals, as he was being let out, he knelt down in front of his chair and bowed his head down as if he was praying. When he stood up, he faced the gallery and he began to clap, prompting the gallery to clap and cheer. Combs' attorneys, they all exchanged hugs, and the gallery continued to cheer for him. I mean, what a moment in that courtroom.
Was he successful in avoiding a federal case? And it wasn't good fortune or a strong legal team that protected him, according to claims that are spreading online. It was an agreement. Industry rumors indicate that Diddy made a covert deal with the powers that be. He supposedly gave them the one item they really desired, evidence in return for his freedom. It was the same evidence tapes, documents, names, and connections that he had been using for years as cover.
This is shocking. This was an enormous defeat for prosecutors. The 3 big charges, which is why they prosecuted him in the first place, the jury acquitted Diddy.
They only found him guilty on what we knew all along were the easiest things to find him guilty of. That was the transportation for purposes of prostitution, the Mann Act.
Which is sending a prostitute across state lines. Right. Happens every day.
We knew before the trial started he was guilty of those.
They never would have filed these charges if it were just that. This undeniably is an enormous embarrassment for prosecutors, and it really underscores what Mark Agnifilo was saying, that they tried to make it about baby oil and Astroglide and all that other stuff. And the jury,
but you can't ignore the fact that they looked through also Cassie's emotional testimony. Pregnant Cassie testifying
and didn't
wasn't
buy
enough.
it.
It wasn't enough.
Didn't buy it. It is undeniably a victory for Diddy, even though he's going to spend time in prison, it would seem.
Today's a great victory. It's a great victory for Sean Combs. It's a great victory for the jury system. You saw that the Southern District of New York prosecutors came at him with all that they had. They're not stopping, but one thing stands between all of us and a prison, and that is a jury of 12 citizens. And we had a wonderful jury. They listened to every word, and they got the situation right, or certainly right enough. They acquitted him of the sex trafficking, which he was absolutely innocent of. They acquitted him of the racketeering conspiracy that he was absolutely innocent of, and all of the components to it. The kidnapping, he was innocent of that. The arson, he was innocent of that. The obstructing justice, he was innocent of that. And that is no longer just me saying that. That is the verdict of our jury.
And after nearly a 2-month trial with 34 witnesses and hours of salacious testimony, a jury of 8 men and 4 women finds Sean Diddy Combs not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, but guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. prostitution. The judge is currently deciding right now whether Combs will actually be released today. His defense arguing that since the music mogul was acquitted of the most serious crimes, he should be able to go home. Once court was adjourned, family members cheered today's verdict. Combs' son, Christian, telling ABC News how happy he is.
Hey, yo, we love y'all. We love everybody watching. So happy. Pop's coming home. God bless. God bless the whole world.
What was going through your head when the verdict was read? Happy.
Diddy is not exonerated even after the not guilty verdict. Diddy will remain in custody until his sentencing in October as a result of the judge refusing his bail. Diddy currently faces 20 years in prison, but he has the option to be sentenced to life in prison if the judge so chooses. Judge Aaron is not required to adhere to the federal regulations. Many people are now wondering if the judge intends to use Diddy as an example. Following the decision in his sex case, Sean Diddy Combs was not granted bail. This is how he responded to the news. As his attorneys tried to persuade Judge Aaron Subramanian to release their client before his punishment, Combs' chances of returning home were apparently shattered, according to NBC News reporters in the courtroom. In his decision, Subramanian highlighted Combs' violent history over the years, stating that he still poses a threat to others and is incapable of abiding by the law. He claimed that Combs, who entered a not guilty plea to charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, force, fraud, or coercion, as well as transportation to engage in prostitution, was exonerated of the 3 most serious traffic and racketeering charges and was only found guilty of offenses related to prostitution. Mark Agnifilo, his defense lawyer, insisted that he be released under suitable terms. According to Agnifilo, Combs would be required to forfeit his private jet, which is now grounded in Maui, and post a $1 million cash bail co-signed by his mother, Janice Combs, his sister Kesha Combs, and Sarah Chapman, the mother of Combs' oldest daughter Chance Combs. In order to appear in court and consult with attorneys, he also consented to give up his passport, submit to a drug test, and limit his travel to certain regions of California, Florida, and New York.
Bro, you got to realize you got people like Prince Harry. Prince Harry was at a Diddy party. You got some of the same Universal executives. Diddy made it cool for, I'm just gonna say it like this, man, whites to hang out with the hood dudes. Dude from the hood, he made it cool and safe for them to hang out with the white executives. They used them for that. They used them enough, whereas that now you got white executives doing Diddy-like parties. Remember the dude from, what's that, Frantic? The clothing line, the sports line? They was mad because they didn't get invites to his party because he was doing white parties, doing parties like Diddy. Now, I ain't talking about the freak-off party part of it, but I'm just saying, he was doing those parties and everybody, there was rappers, or I think Stephen A. Smith said something about he was upset that he didn't get no invite. So it was those parties that everybody wanted to be at. So Diddy have on tape, he taped everything. He taped everything and taped everybody.
Everyone who testified against Diddy is at risk if he escapes, on the grounds that Diddy is dangerous to Cassie and other witnesses. Cassie's attorney has requested that the court hold Diddy in custody pending his sentencing. Attorney Douglas Wigder wrote to Judge Aaron Subramanian that Cassie was afraid Diddy would target her and all the other people who testified against him.
Ventura writes a letter to the judge asking for him to deny Diddy's bail, calling Diddy a danger to all of the witnesses. The judge just said at 5 o'clock he will make his determination on whether he's going to let Diddy walk free today while he's waiting to be sentenced on his 2 counts of prosta. And now Cassie Ventura is the second person to write a note saying that Diddy is dangerous and she doesn't believe that he should be let out on bail while he's waiting for sentencing. Cassie Ventura's lawyer wrote this letter on her behalf to respectfully request that the court deny Mr. Combs to be released pending his sentencing trial. They cite the law, the Bail Reform Act, that says detention is mandatory post-conviction on these charges, and Cassie Ventura believes that Mr. Combs is likely to pose a danger to the victims who testified in this case, including herself as well as the community. We thank the court for its time and attention to this matter. Now I'll be on the lookout if we have any other notes from witnesses that testified against Diddy, because this is a big deal. The judge will take these into consideration on if he's going to grant Diddy's bail. Still waiting on the government's letter as well, so this is why the judge said he'll reconvene at 5 p.m.
The entire business is anticipating Diddy's punishment. They want to know if Diddy will actually escape everything. Some insiders think that because of his connections and purported agreement with the elites, he is safe from actual repercussions. Others are certain that the judge will use the book as an example. The stakes are larger than ever in either case.
And we know that sentencing hearing scheduled for the fall. Sean Diddy Combs has already been in custody for about 9 months now, and he's also facing dozens of civil lawsuits. What more does he have ahead of him before that hearing? We know, I think it's on October 3rd.
October 3rd at 10 a.m. is when Sean Combs is going to be sentenced for his conviction on 2 counts of transportation for the purposes of prostitution. Each of those counts carries a maximum penalty of up to 10 years. And so prosecutors pointed out in their letter to the judge his total exposure is 20 years in prison. And the judge today, Whit, said that Combs's propensity for violence was starkly depicted on that 2016 hotel security camera footage that may well factor into the judge's sentencing decisions. In the meantime, Sean Combs will continue to be incarcerated at MDC in Brooklyn, the federal jail in Brooklyn, where he's been since his arrest.
You are aware that this involves more than one man if you have read this far. To keep the narrative going, like, comment, and share it. What are your thoughts? Is Ice Cube being honest with you? Was Diddy's agreement with the elites genuine? Comment below with your comments.